And welcome to Light Years. Andy Liu, Andrew Nemhart is officially better than Steph Curry.
That may have been one of the worst Warriors games I've seen in a couple seasons, Samuel. In a couple seasons.
A couple?
Oh my God. That was, and by the way, for those who are watching on the YouTube live, I'm going camera off, some technical difficulties, but that was what the Golden State Warriors are a playing team. That's my take coming out of this game. That was how embarrassing and pathetic that game was. It might be a one-game sample. But to me, right now in the regular season, the Warriors are a playing team. So there you go.
Whew. That's hot. So, I mean, I'll pull up the box score for those watching on YouTube so you have something to look at. But that was easily Steph's worst game of the season. By the way, you are listening to the Pacific Getch post-game show. We were so disgusted by the Warriors' performance, we didn't want to put their name on. To be honest, that's how it comes down. But no, let's get.
Hey, real quick, by the way, somebody sent us a picture of him at Pacific Catch for the game. So shout out to I got to go dig up the tweet and we'll throw it up here in a second. But anytime somebody goes there, I found it. Some RTJMCC said he's at Pacific Catch Marin. Shirashi, by the way, I don't know why you weren't there, Sam. But he was there and got the red curry. So shout out to RTJ on the on the feed, and he took a picture of the full bar, which is really what we care about. But anyway, this tonight's Light Years podcast brought to you by postgame show brought to you by Pacific Catch.
Yeah, I mean, first off, Pacific Catch, amazing. Got it for Saturday's game against the Rockets. Warriors won. Maybe it's our fault. Maybe I should have got myself some more of the dumpling tot. Dude, they were legit. I'll just put it this way. I kind of like, when you have the perfect side where you're like, kind of just want to order it to have as like a snack at 3 p.m. type of deal. Yeah. I was thinking about that today. It's a long day. But anyway, let's get back to the game.
This is what we needed, by the way. We needed that moment of
the moment of lightness, just because, you and I are both pretty frustrated. So, there's two ways to look at this game right now. On the one hand, this was Steph's worst game of the season. I think we will both excuse Steph for he officially had a stinker. It's been 25 games into the season. He hasn't had one all year. He had one tonight. No, they're at 3 for 17 from the field, just generally lethargic. They played good defense on him, but come on, man, it's Steph Curry. You can be a little better than that. So on the one hand, there's that. On the other hand, Tyrese Halliburton was not playing for the Pacers. They shouldn't need Steph to drag them to get a win. And that's kind of what happened tonight. Andrew Nemhart went off and just a bad loss, and you're right. They do look like a playing team right now. There's no other way around it. That's what they look like.
Exactly. You look at this box score. Steph didn't need to play tonight. He shouldn't have played tonight. Draymond didn't need to play tonight. He shouldn't have played tonight. And Andrew Wiggins didn't play tonight. And it turns out they needed every single one of those guys if they wanted to win tonight's game. The Pacers scored 34 points in the first quarter. The Warriors came out absolutely unserious, which is fine. It happens. But what you want to do as a team, if you think you're a contender, is to be able to lock down and essentially put the game away when it does matter, right? They cut the lead down to a tie game essentially late in the second. The Pacers score again. They have the lead late in the fourth quarter, and they lose it and get blown out again. And you watch those minutes, and, at the end of the day, the Warriors are a championship team 6 months ago. But you look at this team right now, and you watch them play in the regular season, they're the exact same team that I watched 2 years ago when they were a playing team. That's my take. They need Steph Curry to play otherworldly to essentially just be a great team. And they need that from night to night. You shouldn't, and they were at home, right? You just shouldn't need this.
Let me ask you a question. Is the difference between the Warriors winning a title and being a play-in team as simple as 2 to 3 bench players who fit? Because when I look at the Warriors, 2020 and 21, it was. I mean, Steph was best player in the world level, which I mean he still is. Disregard tonight, right? But the pieces didn't fit, right? Like Wiggins fits, Looney fits, Draymond fits, but like the Oubres, the Wisemans, the Wanamaker. I forgot about Brad Wanamaker. Like those guys don't fit. 2021-22, Otto Porter, Bielitsa, GP2, perfect fits. And then all of a sudden it turns into this roster, the chemistry goes, and they win a title because they're that good. This year, to me, it's not as bad as 2021, but it's definitely closer to that than last year.
Correct.
Correct. JaMychal, I want to root for him, but he's just not Otto Porter. Anthony Lamb, I get why he plays so much, but also he's a dude they found in the G League 2 weeks into camp. And there's a reason he was available. I don't think he's the answer to anything they want. And beyond that, it's just like, they don't have many guys. Like Kuminga, I thought was probably the only positive story of tonight. But my broader point, which I'm trying to get to with this is they don't have those complementary pieces they had last year. And is that really the difference? Is that really what separates a play-in team from a title contender? Like, it's kind of wild.
It separates the play-in team from a title contender in the regular season. It separates why the Warriors are one game above 500 right now versus a team that probably should be at least 8 games. Like, they should be in the Phoenix Suns record because they're missing 2 to 3 rotation players that play the way the Warriors do. Right now, off the bench, they've got 2 guys that play that way. They've got Dante DiVincenzo that played that way. They've got Jordan Poole, so that's 2 guys. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. Kuminga's hit or miss. Today he was fantastic. Hit or miss. Moses Moody, right? You just went down the list. I'm not going to do it again. But Moses Moody, not that guy right now. And then you mentioned the other guys. So they have 7 guys. We got a chat here. Sam, we only have 9 players. No, they don't. They have 7. There's 7 players right now, and they are running them into the ground 20-plus games into the season, and the Warriors are still an 8 seed, which I think you can argue, you can blame that on whoever it was, but that's now where the Warriors are at. And you look at the road trip that's coming up and how tough it is. Steph played 38 minutes tonight. 38 minutes tonight. And I think that's unacceptable for a team that's just not going to be deep enough unless they get guys healthy to play the entire season and do it. They're 30-plus years old. And by the way, we're not even talking about what happened in the actual game. Like, we're not even talking about what they struggled.
No, we're not even going to get on like existential. Yeah. Like that kind of speaks to it. So Steph went 3 for 17 tonight, and that puts his field goal percentage on the season at 50%. He obviously 3 for 7. He didn't hit his threes any more than he did his twos. Still at probably 42 to 43% on the season. And I think that kind of speaks to your point, which is Steph opened the season kind of as a flamethrower, and they're 1 game over 500. He's due for a spell where he doesn't shoot 60% on twos and 45% on threes, because if he did that for a full 82, no, that's not true. There'd always be some old dude in my mentions telling me some dude in the 70s who couldn't dribble with their left hand was better. But regardless of that, like, if he could continue at that percent, those numbers, he'd be just so much far and away better than any player in NBA history. Anyway, back to the point, because I'm digressing. He was due for this. And I think that's kind of the difference. Good Warriors teams can leverage bad shooting nights from Steph and still kind of win. Bad Warriors teams, they need 30 just to be in the game. And that's kind of how this team feels right now.
Yeah.
In some ways. We didn't mention Wiggins didn't play tonight. Do you think if Wiggins plays, they win?
Yeah, they do. But that doesn't matter. Right? Because it's, the other team is awful. They're at the end. They're second.
The other team's missing their best player, just to be clear.
And they're missing the 2 best players.
Yeah.
Missing the 2 best players. Second end of a back-to-back, end of a road trip. I know, I get they're young, but dude, Andrew Nembhard, I get it. The kid's solid. He's good. He's a Warriors type of player. Could pass, defend a little bit, could shoot a little bit, but like, come the fuck on, right? Like, what are we watching here? and Jalen Smith comes out the game and he's shooting threes, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing effort from everyone involved in today's game. I'm not even singling anyone out. I don't think it's Anthony Lamb's fault. I don't think it's Draymond's fault. It's like, dude, the whole team sucked. We got a super chat here. This is an interesting one. From Awesome. This team is small and athletic. Is a trade coming? That's interesting. Unathletic. Is this it? They can't seem to close games. Kerr has got to get over the Kuminga stuff. He is the only wing on the roster outside of Wiggins. Just play him. All right, I'll let you respond to this because there's a couple things to talk about in this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're unathletic or small, but like they feel kind of both. And it's the Anthony Lamb thing, right? They play Lamb 24 minutes.
Yeah. And
I can't really justify not doing it. Like, my biggest issue is not that Steve is insane for playing him. My biggest issue is I don't know that he is a better option.
What the fuck?
Right now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we could argue maybe he should play a few less minutes. He should try a few different things. But I'm looking at this roster. Looney and Draymond are made men. Like, we know how good they are in the playoffs. Tonight was not Looney's. Looney was terrible tonight, but it's going to happen every now and then. What are his options if Looney or Draymond are not feeling it? You know, like JaMychal Green is kind of just an energy big who they want to be the first man off the bench. And I just don't see that coming. I see him kind of as a just an energy big at this point for this team. And then after that, it's Anthony Lamb is trying to be Otto Porter out there. And to his credit, you know, couple blocks, steal, 3 assists. Like, he is making plays, but also you watch him and you're like, he's probably 6'5". He's definitely not 6'7", you know? And
moves like he's 300 pounds. like Jesus Christ.
My point is, I mean, I love him in the Juan Toscano Anderson role.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
But it's like he shouldn't be the first big off the bench, which is what he is right now.
Which is 2020 again, because JTA had to play so many minutes, and it was, you know, I listened to a friend of the show, Andrew Sharp and Ben Golliver's podcast. It's a cute story. It's what it is. It's a cute story. In terms of on-court Anthony Lamb style play and what he's given to this team, but that's the problem. It's not him, right? Like you're saying, it's a how should I say it? It's the embodiment of the problem of the Warriors building this roster this season. So I know you got some stuff on the rundown, so I want to pivot it this way because we talked about worst Steph game of the year. What stood out to me was Jonathan Kuminga, and this has happened now in the last few games. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is one of the largest themes of this game. First off, Steve Kerr needs to get it together and just play the kid, which is what Austin was saying. I agree with that. Whatever Kuminga is doing in practice or whatever, just we got 2 eyes, man. Watch the basketball games.
Let me ask you this: 23 minutes tonight. Do you think it felt like too little?
Well, he would have found out if he played more, but I mean, I'm messing with you. Yeah, I'm being facetious, but he didn't play the entire first quarter.
True.
And there's no reason for that, right? He should be playing 33 minutes if he can stay on the floor for 33 minutes. So yes, I say yes to your point. He should be playing more because he does things that no other Warrior can do outside of Andrew Wiggins.
Is it so? Steve Kerr seems to think he's a 3, and defensively he's best as a 3. There's no way around that. But offensively, he's probably a 5 in the system because he's not really a shooter. I thought he made some really good passes tonight. Like, overall, Kuminga's probably the only positive I take from this game. My question for you, so I would say if you were to ask Steve Kerr off record, he'd probably say, like, I don't have the right players to put him in the right lineup combination, so that's an issue. You know, he doesn't have an Otto Porter to put out there and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so, and I get it because you put a smart big who can shoot and connect everything. It's easier to play Kuminga at the 3, and then on offense, it's kind of a flip role. That player's kind of just a spacer while Kuminga gets to own the paint. That's perfect world, but that's not the roster he has right now. What are ways in your mind, Kuminga can get on the floor more for this team?
Well, I think this is the best way. I think they have him kind of playing the GP2 role, but it is hard to what you're saying. Like they don't have the auto porter, which is why he's playing next to Anthony Lamb so much, which makes it so difficult. Um, they need to pick someone up. That's really the only way. Or they need to pray that if he plays with Kevon Looney and Moses Moody, or maybe get another shooter next to him, maybe a Clay, and if Wiggins gets back, it at least pushes another shooter into that lineup. Wiggins was out tonight, so I think that's the best way. But I do think when I watch Anthony Lamb get in the game before him, when I watch even Moses Moody tonight get in the game before him, what are we doing here? Like it's a young team that's more athletic. You're watching Jalen Smith or Jalen, whatever the hell his name is, get rebounds and shoot threes and run up and down the floor. And you're telling me that you're going to put in two of the slowest guys on the team to try to compete, right? I don't think I think part of the argument for Kuminga is that you just can't. You got to give these kids minutes. You got to let them figure it out. And he's not Wiseman. He's not going in there and single-handedly being the most self-destructive player I've ever freaking seen in my own two eyes. He's actually making tangible impact. So yeah, we got a super chat here.
I do think. Yeah, Wiseman is sorry.
Yeah. No,
by the way,
no progression.
Plus 15 in G League. Shout out Big Jim.
Yeah. That was a news story, by the way.
Kuminga is progressing, and I do feel that way. But I agree with you where. I don't feel like they have a complete enough roster to work it out. And so this ties into Solomon Tech's super chat question for us. Jazz, Celtics, then a 6-game road trip. I see us being below 500 very soon. We have to make a move, at least a couple of moves. We're simply not good enough. Andy, I'll let you take this first. I mean, you've kind of already spoke your piece, but I'm going to let you answer him first.
Okay, so as I give my take from earlier, I'm also going to walk it back a little bit because this is what Andy Liu does. I think, dude, the Warriors are really freaking good at the same time. I do think part of what happened tonight is them coming out and thinking they're going to win the game by 20 points. And at the end of the day, the Warrior starters were the one that put them in a 10-point deficit, and the Warrior starters failed to close the game, up one late in the game. So when you were talking about them locking in and playing against better teams, yeah, they're going to look much better against the Utah Jazz and Utah because they know Utah's good. On Saturday night, I guarantee you this team's going to look great. Now, will they win? I don't know, but they're going to look very good. On the 6-game road trip, I think the issue is going to be I believe there's 2 back-to-backs on that road trip. So you almost throw those two. You could throw those 2 games away. So
you're hoping to split, right?
Yeah. Well, no, it's 0-2. So you're hoping to go shit, man. You're hoping to go 3-1 just to be 500 on that road trip. So I think that's the issue with the road trip. I think, but then you look at this team's record, and they're 1 game above 500. So you come back on the road trip after those 2 games, you may be a 500 team. Are they not good enough? I don't know if they're not good enough, but yeah, the record is going to show that they're just a 500 team, which is why I keep saying they're a playing team. They're better than 2020, 2021. But they need more guys for them to be a realistic 55, 60 win team, which is what they were last season. Their profile was a 55, 60 plus win team last season, which is why they won the championship. It was just because of injuries that they fell apart, right? So I think this team can have that profile, but to your point, you kind of mentioned it earlier. They're missing 2 to 3 rotation guys. That's really what it is, or else they're going to keep losing these type of games because you just can't play Steph 41 minutes. You play Steph 41 minutes, you can beat anyone in the world. You can beat Boston in Boston. You play Steph 41 minutes. But come on, you can't play Steph 41 minutes at home against Indiana in December. So
I agree. We have a Steve Kerr quote I'm going to read right now. Tim, let's put it up. We never contained them defensively. They were in control the whole game. Facts. Nembhard was fantastic and controlled the whole game. We were never able to string together a bunch of stops. Objectively, a factual statement.
All facts.
My question is, do they even have the roster to get the stops? Because I'm going to be, I don't want to get all, I don't want to go all the way there, but I'm getting frustrated with Jordan Poole.
Wow.
I'm getting frustrated with just the general, and maybe this is a case for Kuminga playing more, but like Dante is a good defender, but he's not great. You know, you go up and down the line. Someone else threw it out there. They look unathletic. And I don't know if this is one of those. I guess my question is, how much better can they get versus how much of a ceiling does the specific talent on the roster have? Because to me, it feels like they can get a little better, but there's only so much you can do with the talent, the way it's constructed.
I think that's where you have to hope. It's sad that it's almost 30 games in, and you're like, oh, I hope it. That's what the kids are supposed to be for.
Right.
That's what Moses Moody, James Wiseman, and Jonathan Kuminga were supposed to do this season. And I know, Baldwin and Rollins unfair. But those three guys, year 3, year 2, year 2, supposed to be what was supposed to bring that energy to the Warriors. Were they supposed to be? You go back and listen to our podcast. Were they supposed to be GB2? Oh, no. But they were supposed to be bring a different type of energy to this team.
Right.
And you're watching Kuminga be able to do that. I think Steve has to just kind of let him. And same with Moses Moody. Didn't play well tonight, but what the hell is he supposed to do, man? He played like 2 minutes.
Do you, I think it's back to our point. Do you blame Steve for not giving them rope? Or do you blame the front office for not putting enough veterans to give them more space to have rope?
If I were to blame one, because you can't say both. Let's say you can't say both. If I were to blame one, front office, easily.
Yeah, because
the answer's been answered. The question's been answered. You know the solution. You built the solution last season. You persevered away from that solution, which is what we've always argued. Why in the world is Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins on this roster? They suck. They're kids. They don't know. They don't know. Like, they suck. Like 4 years from now, they might not.
To your broader point, how many kids do you need? Are you running a Montessori school, or are you trying to win a title? Like, I mean, the broader point is, it's not that they suck. It's that half the roster is under 21. So, and it's one of those. It's just a roster construction issue. I'm sure you guys will find it repetitive, but that's just kind of what tonight felt like. It felt like they could have used a little more. Like, if Steph doesn't have it, they don't know what to do. Anyway, all right. We got one more super chat, and then we're going to get to the callers. We got a few in. Appreciate you guys. Stay on the line. From Awesome. Wiggins missed a game. Poole almost missed a game. It's almost 30. Halfway through the season, injuries pile up. Is a trade coming? So we're talking about the same thing. I'll put it this way. We're 10 days away from December 15th, which is when most contracts get guaranteed. I don't believe a trade is coming before the end of January. Usually no trades happen until we get to trade deadline season. And nothing I've ever seen from Bob Myers and Joe Lacob suggests like panic trade December 8th. I don't even know if they're going to make a trade at the deadline, to be honest with you. But if they were to make one, I don't think it's happening today. I think it's happening, February 3rd, 2 days before the deadline type of deal.
The urgency for me is becoming higher and higher with each passing game, because in 2020, you can argue that if you don't make something happen, fine. You still have the Clay not coming back excuse. You have the fact that you traded for Kelly Oubre and paying $100 million in taxes for Oubre, fine. But dude, right now, if they don't do something at the deadline, I'm not saying do something now, but if you don't do something at the deadline, it's malpractice. James Wiseman's not ready to play. Talk about sucks. I mean, like, that guy stinks. So you've got to figure out a way. And maybe he has no trade value, but you do owe it to the team to say, we got to get another player in there. I don't know who it is. Not my job. I'm not Bob Myers. If you want to give me $10 million, though, I could try to do his job. No problem doing that.
What's your price? What's your price to be GM?
2.6. 2.6 a month.
Joe comes in with a 1.8 offer. You're like, I'm good.
I told Kirk over the weekend at Warriors rotating. I said, look, man, I'm not cheap. You know what I mean? You get in there and I start throwing these future firsts and in front of other teams and then start putting together a real tender for Steph. So they got to do something, man. I know you want to say that they still might not, but they've got to. They got to figure something out. So,
I mean, I hope you're right. I've been burnt too much going this way. Can you confirm that Kirk Lacob said that you owe him for talking shit all those years? Can you confirm that Kirk Lacob's dunked on you and then said light years?
By the way, now it's called friend of the show, Kirk. Now, the guy does read everything. I will say that, which is the funniest. I guess it's you say that about Steph and anybody. It's always funny, but the guy does read all the tweets that goes to him, which I think is hilarious. But I also think
I mean, we both know that. How many people are in your mentions thinking that if they talk shit to you, that Kirk's going to like their tweet and they're going to get a $25K a year job in the front office? So, it is what it is. All right. You should get to the caller.
Let's get to the goons, man. Let's get to the goons. Have them carry
my man, no cap. What's up?
What's good? What's good, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yes,
yeah, we
sir.
can hear you.
All right, look. So I got a couple takes. All right, so the Celtics coming in on December the 10th, it's going to be a blowout. I'm telling you, they're going to beat us by 30 or 40. I'm going to say that first. Because that's my favorite East team. So I watch every Celtics game this season. And what Brad Stevens did in the offseason is super underrated with how he plugged the holes that they were missing, like with the finals, like in the finals and stuff like that. And guess what? In the playoffs, they're going to have Gallo back. Rob, of course, will be back. And the Sam Hauser is low key. I could see him being their Kevin Herter or their Klay Thompson. He's shooting that good from the three. So yeah, like they're a problem. And we're not beating the Bucks. We're not beating the Suns. We're not beating Denver. We might not beat the Lakers if AD is playing the way AD is playing right now, and he's playing like bubble AD. You might not beat them for real. Andy, I heard you say that earlier. And Sam, you got on his ass about it, but I'm telling you, like, it's serious though, for real. If he playing the way he's playing right now, but we might not.
He looks phenomenal. There's no way around that.
Dominant, bro.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, okay, if Bob Myers does not make a trade, and Windhorst brought it up on his pod earlier, he said Bob Myers hasn't made a big in-season trade since D'Lo, and before that it was I forget who
Monte.
Exactly. So there's that too. But man, I'm gonna be honest. This team is literally a first at worst, and second round exit at best in the playoffs. Let's be honest.
Who? If you had to pick one guy you could magically put on the Warriors, realistically, who would you pick in the league that you would make a trade for?
Non-star.
To be honest, to plug both holes real quick, and he's not even that good of a shooter, but just how he hustles and plays and his defense, and plus this little bit of offense, especially from the corner three shot. It would be Grant Williams.
Nice. Okay.
Grant Williams.
That type of player is that type of player.
That's an NBA version of Anthony Lamb. So
yeah, Grant Williams.
Oh, all right. How we going, man?
Elite.
He's getting the same point I'm getting at, which is like they need to upgrade the Anthony Lamb spot. Like that's the most obvious move for this team. Like, it was Otto Porter last year. That's good. 2 years ago, it was Juan playing, right?
The more we watch, the more, I think you're right. I think maybe the Otto spot is probably more important to what they need than, because Dante's good enough, man. Dante's good enough.
I just wonder
to play the GP2 role, but they really need a 4-5.
I just wonder if you add the right 4-5 so they're not like a mess on defense when Looney and Draymond aren't locked in. If Dante doesn't become a little better, like a little easier for him knowing that he has someone behind him he can trust instead of Lamb or Wiseman or that sort of stuff.
And you can play Kuminga much easier, like you were saying, right? You can make life for him easier and makes life for Draymond a little easier. Their defense is so bad right now, so bad.
It's not.
It's just you talk about Jordan Poole struggling. Like I'm watching him play defense, and it is. I don't have any words. This counterattack defense they have 3 guys that take playing defense seriously, right? It's Dante gets in there and goes hard as hell. Kuminga gets in like sometimes. Andrew Wiggins, like that's 2, and then 3 is Draymond. Like 3 guys that take defense super seriously. And the rest is just like kind of just vibing. I guess you could throw Looney in there. But the rest of the guys are just kind of like out there. Like Jordan Poole tonight, they start him. Like maybe that's the wrong choice. Like maybe you just can't play Steph, Clay, and Poole together to start off a game because it's just buckets out there.
It's a lot of dudes looking for themselves first, and I kind of agree with you. Like two out of the 3, not all 3 at the same time.
And Steph's out there now trying to get people involved, and he's trying to have them figure it out.
And you don't. He'll do it, but you don't want him doing it because he's better at shooting than both those guys.
I don't want CP3 on my fucking team. You know what I mean?
It's. I don't need him to be CP3. We watched him do that the first couple of years of his career. He's fine at it. It's a waste of his talent.
Waste. Good way.
Shiny Exorus goes. Been watching the last few in the second quarter when they play Clay, JK, Dre. They locked up on D and go big runs. They have something with the bench there. All right, let me take this. I feel like they have something with 7 players on this roster. And that's kind of the problem we're talking about, which is like, you put Kuminga with Clay, Draymond, and Steph. He looks good. You put Poole with Looney and Dre and Wiggins. He looks good. The problem is you can only play the main guy so many minutes, and it does feel like they need another veteran to get mixed in there. That's the way I see it. Even with JK coming on, it does feel like sometimes it's hard for me to see them winning games without Steph and Draymond playing 40 minutes a game, which is a problem.
Yeah. And the bench, I mean, Kerr did the right move, right? He put Steph with a bunch of scrubs on offense. And just said, all right, Steph, try to carry that offense because right now we're gonna rest Draymond, Clay, and JP, and we're gonna go
best of bad choices, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we'll just throw Steph in with some guys and just have them figure it out. And then they go in and the bench crushes it, which is what happened. But then you bring in those guys again and you try to stretch them out at the end of the fourth quarter. Anything can happen. We watched Jalen Suggs hit bullshit threes. Like Jalen Suggs, as much as I like him, he is not a good basketball player in the NBA. He is not, and I like him.
Not a shooter, that's for sure. Not pulling from 28, which he did on the war. Oh god,
Isaiah Stewart, another guy that's just not a good basketball player. But against you get these guys in rhythm, any basketball players can get hot, and that's what happens. Andrew Nembhard. All right, David, let's go. Let's roll.
David, my man, what's up?
Yo, what's up, guys? All right, a lot of things being said tonight. First off, a lot of things being said. We're getting very emotional, which I can relate to, honestly. I feel like the first thing on my mind is like we got like championship. We're taking the shots from all these shitty teams because we're the champs and we got worse. It's like a combination of 2 bad things at once. Like I watched the Magic play the Pistons and it's like they don't give a shit. They don't try that hard. And then the Magic play us and they go so hard. They go ham. So I feel like part of all these like regular season drudgery losses is just our roster. We've been working out kinks. We've been like figuring our identity out. We're a little thinner than we wish we were. And we're taking these shots from all these punk ass teams that are trying to prove themselves against our team, which if we weren't the champs, it wouldn't be that way. So I think part of our losses in the regular season are just due to that. I agree they need the Lamb upgrade, that Lamb spot upgraded big time. Like that's just the biggest no-brainer.
Right.
And like we could go on and on about which 4 or 5 we won and the trades and all these different things.
Okay, Utah coming to town. My timeline's about to be just like Olynyk, Vanderbilt. Like we'll be talking.
Yeah. Like there's so many players that are like 6'9", 6'11" that can shoot a little bit, defend outside a little bit. You could pick your guy. I feel like to me, losing at this stage is almost better because we know like the Warriors are really good. Like we're not a playing team. like this is a really good team. We can beat anybody in the NBA in any given night. Are we a championship team right now? No, we're definitely not a championship team, but we're definitely pretty damn good too. But I think like losing might help increase the chances of making a trade that I think we definitely agree that we need. So I'm okay with it. And the last thing I gotta say is who I feel really bad for is all the vets that Andy talked about. We're running them to the ground. And like that's who I like. Draymond has taken shot after shot. Looney's huffing and puffing. Like we're really running our guys. And I think that's the biggest concern for me is that it's kind of, in my opinion, it feels disrespectful, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
like this is the team that has brought this franchise to this stage to where we're now postulating over should we keep Ryan fucking Rollins? Like, who cares? Who cares? This was a joke of a franchise not that long ago. And like it feels disrespectful to run these guys into the ground at this stage in their career and at this stage of the franchise, to be honest.
Such a good point.
David, appreciate it. Strong call. I 100% agree. That's kind of Andy, isn't that kind of like the broader point we're kind of getting at here, which is like, it's not that, I don't think the Warriors main guys can hang with any lineup in the NBA. It's not that I dislike the young guys. It's that like, be serious. Like six vets with a bunch of kids, like Steph's gonna be hurt by the end of the year with this type of thing. Like it's all of them, right? Like you need to have a roster that makes a little more sense for the 82.
I agree. Yeah. No other words. No additional words.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, Tashawn. What's up, man?
I mean, the Warrior Steph decided to have the worst game in I want to say 2 seasons. Not even the tour date from last year could get me annoyed as what he did yesterday. He was probably the worst.
I forgot
the worst player on the floor. The worst player on the floor for this game. But then again, we kind of already discussed that he's old. We shouldn't expect 35-year-old Steph to always be at MVP level. And so these kind of games can happen. And so I get people's frustration and sympathy for Wiseman, and that's fair. We shouldn't have to put people in a bad situation. However, not finding a GP2 replacement and an auto replacement is a big problem. So I just have to say, which is probably going to be happening sooner? The Jazz or the Bulls going to try to tank and try to give one of their key players like Caruso or Vando to the Warriors? Or is it not going to happen and the Warriors are going to figure out that they're going to be a second round exit because their roster construction sucks? So take it easy, guys. And remember, support local businesses to have the Pacific Edge.
Appreciate you, my man. That is A+ call. I have,
strong roster of goons today. Strong roster of goons.
We got a strong amount of callers coming through today. His last comment reminded me a little of a Bob Myers quote today. Bob Myers did an interview today. Well, I mean, he probably did it 2 weeks ago, but he did an interview today with Bob Myers, dropped in Gentleman's Quarterly, GQ magazine.
What it stands for?
I don't know, maybe.
Somebody confirm in the chat. Wow.
Let's throw it up here, Timmy. Let's throw it up on the wall here. It says, okay. So he's talking about trades, and he's talking about how cautious he is. He goes, so we trade a player. Are we okay if that player becomes an all-star? If we trade a draft pick, are we okay if that pick ends up being top 5 pick? We have to understand those consequences before we do a deal. There are certain situations where you're so convinced of the groupthink and the public narrative that the downside isn't even possible that we don't even explore it. So I spend my time saying, what if X happens? Well, that's not going to happen. What if it did? That's pretty low odds. Let's talk about it. Are you okay with that? Got it. These interviews are just hilarious to me because Bob Myers is just this is the goat of saying nothing in interviews. Like these are it's just I feel like I'm at a tech summit where he's just like, you should question decision making. You know, like it's
Yeah, look, I'm with you. That paragraph meant nothing to me. Like, okay, we get it, Bob. You want to look at different scenarios of what could happen if you maybe thought of perhaps looking at a trade for maybe some of your players. Like, hey, look, get it, man. I get it.
I think my broader point, if you read into that interview a bunch, it makes one skeptical that they're going to pull the trigger. Too early to say.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the mood is if they're still this mediocre team come late January, but they won the title last year. And there's some very angry veterans who are champions up their ass about making a trade. But we'll see. We're probably a month away from that.
I think that may be that if it were up to Joe and Bob, they're taking it down to the wire in terms of making.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But I do think
that's what I said deadline. February, whatever, 8th, whatever maybe.
But I do think, Steph 2 years ago, look, you could talk him into not making a move because I just mentioned earlier. But this season, coming off a championship, shot at 5, back to back.
5?
You know what I'm saying? Like
5?
that's.
Is it Kawhi here?
Yeah, Kawhi wishes he had 5. Good big shot by Kawhi today. You don't throw stuff like that. You don't take that kind of stuff. You don't mess around, which is what the Warriors are doing right now.
Sorry, Ryan Rollins.
You know what I mean?
Why is Rollins always?
It's a Ryan Rollins. I actually have no idea if he's good or not. I just say like
I'm sure he's fine.
Baldwin seems like I would like him. Patrick Baldwin. I think I would like him if I watched him play. But let's be realistic.
It's a timing thing.
Let's be realistic, man. Like you look up and down the NBA, there's a million Ryan Rollins. Honestly, there's a million Jonathan Kumingas. Let's be. There's a lot of athletic guys out there that's up and down.
They don't get up like that. But yeah.
But I trade them if it made sense to win.
No, I do agree. I do agree.
Which is the point, right? It's there are a lot of guys in the NBA. So Joe, unless you're telling me Kate Cunningham's on this roster, which I don't see one. I don't see what you're telling me. Evan Mobley's not, because if I saw one, they'd be playing. We'd be watching them play big minutes. So I don't see one.
Oh, well, if Melo's on this roster, he would play no more than Wiseman. Relax. All right, let's get out of here. We got Francisco. Right. I owe my man his time, and then we're gonna get out of here.
We should have went first to Francisco. Big Brazilian win today.
You're not.
Yes, but
I'm not that happy about it, but
my man's a Portuguese fan, so
Tomorrow is the day. If this game was tomorrow, I might be less nervous. But just talking about the Warriors, okay? We talk about the lamb spot. It's not the lamb spot. It's Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins. Sorry to pile on, but. Sure. It's those two spots. If Moody's not playing, or Moody would be at the end of the bench, and some other vet would be at the Moody spot. And let's not forget, Iggy hasn't played 1 second. Okay, so like you two always say, unserious, not playing, but unserious roster building. Okay. You talked about Olenek and Vanderbilt. We watched the Charlotte game at the end. PJ Washington and McDaniels would be perfect fits, both of them and I think Melo got injured today, so Wiseman would be great for them to make sure they get the 1 or the 2 pick. Not the 1 because they would have Wiseman, so they wouldn't want Victor.
Oh yeah, they're good. They're good. They don't need Wembanyama. They're good.
No, but the thing is, there are not many teams that want to tank and want to get a project on them. Charlotte might be one of them, because I don't think, like, imagine OKC wouldn't want him because they have Chet, they can have Victor Wembanyama, so there's no need for another possible bust on them. Just talk about the World Cup quick. Of course, Brazil put on a show today. They got lucky. Portugal lost to Korea because against Uruguay, the game would be a lot different. Uruguay is a lot tougher. They foul a lot, and they wouldn't lose by 4.
They're my favorite. Just so we can be clear, they're my favorite type of team. I like teams that are a little dirty. Just personally, I think it's, and that's true with basketball too. Part of the reason I'm frustrated at the Warriors is outside of Draymond and maybe Looney, there's no one on this team who's gonna get a little dirty, like foul you anyway. It's a bunch of guys who are just gonna be like, yeah, I'll take it out of the basket and I'll go the other way. Can't win that way.
Yeah, but just to finish the World Cup, we had some, how do I say, some favorites lost in the beginning, but now everything is coming to place and all the good teams are passing. I just hope I just hope Portugal doesn't soil his cheats tomorrow and get through, and we can have a quarterfinals or even a semifinals, because in the quarters we might play Spain and we're good enough to beat them. Just need Ronaldo to get in shape a little bit, not even too much. Just need to tap it in. He's a good header of the ball, is still in good shape. But like I said to you, I think a couple of weeks ago, you asked for a favorite. I talked about France. They're looking really good. Yeah, they're still there, and they're still really strong. And Mbappe is a machine.
Even without my guy Benzema.
Yeah, no, of course, Giroud is disgraceful, but no, as a backup forward is good. Okay,
I know what you mean.
No, Portugal won the European Championship because they played Giroud, plain and simple. Okay, so I'm really happy for him to be playing and be the top goal scorer ever in France.
He's the Dylan Brooks of soccer.
Yeah.
For those who watch, you know what I mean. He works hard, but
he works hard. He's a good backup. He's a good backup.
Three shots to make one every time.
Yeah,
you know.
Appreciate you,
Bye.
Francisco.
Bye.
Get some sleep. I gotta take care. I've been.
Let's go.
No, I just, we were at the tournament, and one of the things Kirk was saying, which I thought was interesting, is he loves that fans are passionate. He doesn't care that fans are mad and angry at the Warriors because it means that fans care, which is cool. I think it's interesting. And then when I watch these soccer games, I'm watching, Korea scores a goal and they advance, or Japan scores or they advance, or any of these other countries. And you've got these fans in the stands crying. That is, dude,
that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, that's insane. I think you don't see that much with American sports. I think like maybe college football is kind of the closest thing. It feels like when you watch college football, the fans are like insane and they're doing chants and all that stuff, which is what you hear in a soccer game, which when I hear it, I'm like, damn, I got like goosebumps a little bit. So I think that's it feels like other countries have that type of passion, maybe more so than America. But I could be wrong. It's just me watching the World Cup every 4 years, and I'm like, damn, man, I'm seeing dudes crying their hearts out at the end of these games. And part of this is, you're rooting for your country versus America, which is team, right? It's different. But I think that's pretty cool. I think, and that's why it's cool that Warriors have such a hardcore fan base.
Well, I feel like what you're saying is Draymond's GOAT, LeBron, ruined everything by trying to shame fans for caring. Never let anyone shame you for your takes. That is my ending thoughts. I don't even know why I'm preaching on this right now, but I do agree with you. One of my favorite things about the World Cup is the passion. One of the lamest things about the internet is when people try to get on you for caring about something.
That's correct.
We care. And also put together a non-Montessori roster, Warriors. All right.
We hope they care. All right.
We are out tonight. You guys have a good one. We'll be back after the Jazz game. Later.